2, 3.
Cause I'ma dig deep, I'ma stand tall. I got the grit of the underdog. I'm stronger than you think, I can do this on my own. There's a difference between loneliness and doing this alone.
Welcome to CGC Presents DC Music Rocks by the Capital Groove Collective, elevating the sound of the DMV music scene to the world stage, one conversation at a time. Here we will highlight the wildly talented DMV musicians that we believe are paving the way in the Washington metropolitan area through diversity of genre, gender, identity, and community. I'm your host, Stephanie Mathias, and I am with the beautiful Rachel, aka Brassie, Rachel Brassfield, aka Brassie. Thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. Super excited.
So I just listened to your track that you sent me that it's special. It's from your EP. Can you talk about that a little bit? It was called Tomb, right?
Yeah. So Tomb was the second single off my debut EP that I released at the end of 2019. And I love the song. I think it's maybe a little underrated. It's one of my favorite songs, but I'm really excited to share it again because I have a producer, Wrench. He's an artist and producer. His name is Wrench, and he is remixing the song, and that should be out this year. So I'm really, really excited to have the song transformed for people.
Yay! Yeah, that's awesome. That's always exciting to have a remix, right? Because you got you got a different perspective of the song. I loved it. Oh man, I guess we should backtrack a bit. We should talk a little bit about who you are, who's your music, who's your music, what is your music, and what's your story? How did you come about doing what you do?
Yeah. So my artist name is Brassie, which is just a shortened version of my last name. So my name is Rachel Brassfield. Brassie, easy.
Brassfield. I said Brasswood. Darn it. So
yeah, Brassfield. But Brassie, that's it's sexier than Brassfield, so I like that better.
I think Brassie's very cute. I love it.
Thanks. It worked. Yeah, I had this whole long list of potential names, and I chose that one, and I'm happy I did. And really, I wanted to be a musician my whole life, from as early on as I can remember. But kind of somewhere in between childhood and young adulthood, I lost faith that I could actually pursue it as a career. I think that's a pretty common sentiment in the community. But I still stuck with it as a hobby. I sang in choirs, and I started I learned how to play the guitar. I taught myself how to play the guitar, and then I started writing songs and playing open mics. And eventually I was actually pursuing a career in the music industry, but behind the scenes as a marketer. I was hoping to do marketing.
Cool. And
I hadn't been trying that for very long when I realized that was just as hard and just as competitive.
No kidding.
And so once I realized that, I made the actually pretty easy decision. Well, after 20 years of not being able to make the decision, but at that point, it finally felt right to start pursuing music as a career. And so about 3 years ago, I finally decided to become Brassie, and I have never looked back.
That's wonderful. Yeah, good for you, because I definitely relate to that story of wanting to be a musician, and then for whatever reason feeling no, I shouldn't pursue that. So that's good that you're doing that. I was I'm proud of you. Yeah, so speaking of marketing, can you tell me what makes your music and career unique?
Yes. So
so market yourself right now. Just kidding.
I shouldn't have said that, because I'm not very good at marketing. No one would ever believe that I studied it. But I'd say my career so far is still pretty young. And I don't know how unique it is. I feel like a lot of people nowadays are sort of self-taught and struggling with the career decisions. But I do think my music is unique because of my voice and my songwriting. It's sort of been a lifelong battle trying to appreciate my voice. I was always mimicking the vocalists that I really admired, like trying to sound like Amy Winehouse or Lana Del Rey or Susan Tedeschi. But I've sort of learned over time that it's a positive thing that I don't sound like those people. So I think I have a unique tone and I'm embracing that.
I think that the tone of your voice is incredible. I love it. And I mean, when I've been interviewing for this podcast, I sort of like given my reaction to their song when I was listened to Tomb, the single we talked about. I listened to Should Have Warned Ya and also Devil Makes Three, and they sound amazing. And your voice is awesome. It sort of sounds like, I guess my first reaction would be like, okay, it's pop music, right? Is that correct? Is that how you would describe it? It's like if Adele had grown up in the South. That was my reaction, which I love it. Like I absolutely love it. So you're laughing, but I'm like, it's got like a lot of spunk and attitude and like a gorgeous voice, but it's got a little bit of Southern charm to it. The instrumentals and maybe even the voice as well. Are you from this area? Are you from DC?
Well, I'm from Virginia. I'm from Spotsylvania, Virginia, and
that is the South for me.
And it is. Oh, it totally is. Like I had never heard the term Nova until like I left this place. Like we're definitely not a part of Nova. I'd say it's like where the South starts.
All right.
So definitely influenced by that, and like that, such high praise. Like thank you so much.
Oh, that's why you're laughing. I was like, oh man, I hope she likes Adele because.
Oh no, like very high praise. Like I saw Adele once and she was like completely insane. Yeah. I saw her at Capital One Arena.
Oh,
she was incredible.
Your voice kind of reminds me of her. So yeah. No, and it's gorgeous. It's beautiful and unique on its own, you know, and I can see like the Amy Winehouse and the Lana Del Rey as well. So yeah, I think you're spot on with those comparisons. And but it is unique. There's definitely things that you do that those artists don't with your voice and the way that you manipulate it. And also like your songs are different. So could you tell me like what, you know, if you have like a general theme to your music?
Well, definitely for the EP, I was very inspired by Shaky Graves, which is why you said it sort of sounded like Southern, and that's why like I was heavily influenced by him making Fantastic. The EP. But those are just like 4 songs that were produced, and I definitely consider myself a songwriter. Like I need help from other creatives when it comes to like making more sound, like, you know, making like clean sounding music for Spotify and stuff, and like really elevating it beyond just the songwriting, because that's what I do. So like, just how would I describe like all of my music? I guess I mean, I like to really focus on the lyrics. I think that's like the most important part for me, and I like to play with kind of more intricate rhyme schemes and wordplay. I like to think that it comes across and that people like that.
Cool. No, that's awesome. Yeah, and the lyrics, you know, I could tell like there was just some meaning into, especially the Tomb song, and even, well, all of them actually. They were sort of you know, a message, but I felt like when I listened to it, I was like, I need to listen to this again to like really get into the deep meaning of it. So that's why I asked them, like, you know, what is the message? I know this is the question that I usually say for the end, but now I'm curious because you're like my songwriting and I want to dive into that. Like, what if you had one message that you wanted to share, like with your music in general and the in your lyrics and your songs, like what would it be?
Yeah. So if there's one message from all of my music, I'd say probably that it's just like, you're not alone, because all of my songs are pretty sad and dark. I don't think I've ever written a happy song, but it's not a bad thing. You know, I think there's comfort in knowing that you're not the only person to feel a certain way, especially when you're like sad or going through something that's like difficult. And so I would say that's definitely the overarching message. Like, if you've been through something like this, like, don't worry, because you're not the only one.
I love that. I think that that's super important. For example, like I've had a really rough end to the year, and going through some very hard things personally, and I ended up uh creating a playlist. Actually, it's funny, sorry, because my friend was telling me, "Hey, do you have any like, I need an angry song or whatever." And so I was like, "Oh girl, I got you." And I sent like all like all this stuff, and she's like, "Wait, that's a little too angry." So I'm like, okay, so sometimes I can have some really intense emotions, and so having that, and so I ended up creating a playlist on Spotify of that stuff, and then listening to it all the way through. I ended up listening to it a couple times because I'm like, these are all songs that like they're intense, and some of them are very sad, but like when you hear them, and then just sort of, it's a way to let you like process your grief, and then you actually feel better even though it's a sad
Mhm.
song. So that's why sad songs and like angry songs and all of that, they have a very, very important place in this world, and very necessary to help us as humans, process things. Sometimes when you're going through something, you don't even like know how to feel, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, you described it perfectly. Like that's why those songs exist, and hopefully I can put more of them into the world.
please do. I really hope so as well. And I'm happy to be, in a way helping people know more about you. That's fantastic. Um, I wanted to ask you about, you say that you're from Spotsylvania, and so you're from this area, but I guess you don't consider yourself from DC. Are you here now? Do you live like closer to DC now, or are you still out there?
I was living in DC, so I was living just outside of DC, like working in the city and performing in the city. But when the pandemic started, I my actually main source of income is also in the music industry. So like everything I do was in music. So I actually moved back to Spotsylvania, and I'm living with my parents and my sister right now.
Hey,
So
that's great. That is fantastic. You're like hesitant to admit that. Like, no, that's wonderful to be with
yeah,
family right now. And we've all been hit by the pandemic as musicians.
yeah.
So
I feel very privileged to like have them be here with me. So
yeah, yeah, that's wonderful. So, and that's good because also, you're not alone. So that's really good. Like for me, I have my husband who has like an essential job, and so I get to stay with him. So, and and my daughter, and they're keeping me company. Like, so I think that having family around right now is super important. But
Mhm.
I was just asking because, like, being in DC, I wanted to know like your perspective on the DMV music scene. Do you love it? What do you love about it? And how do you think that we can elevate? Because our goal in the Capital Groove Collective is we want to take Washington, D.C., this whole area, including Spotsylvania, to we want to elevate it so that it can be recognized like places like New York and L.A. and Nashville as, the place to be for music, because we have a very unique vibe. And I wanted to know, like, what's your take on the DMV music scene?
Yeah, the DMV music scene, I love it. I can't get enough of it. It's actually really surprising to me too, because I would describe it as like full of incredibly talented and supportive people. Like, people assume that all the talented people like flock to LA, Nashville, and New York, but that isn't true. There's actually talent everywhere, and I feel
We're
like
trying to say.
a ton of it is in DC. And not only that, but the community is so supportive. Like when I meet other musicians, I don't feel like I'm meeting my competition. I feel like I'm meeting like a friend and a colleague and a collaborator, and like someone, like everyone is so supportive and uplifting. And I often feel like I don't even deserve to be in the group because I like usually keep to myself. I'm more introverted, but like I'm super grateful to be a part of the scene because everyone is just really great.
Of course you deserve it. And yeah, that's what I am getting as well. There's so much diversity here also. And I could even hear
Mhm.
that in your music. I could hear like, like I said, I like felt like I was getting a mix of different cultures in your sound. And so yeah, that's That's great. It's great. It's always great to hear that we have a supportive community, because I absolutely agree. And
Mhm.
in the CGC, that's exactly what we're about, supporting each other. And yeah, when you meet each other, that is something I really love, because I can be really competitive, right?
Yeah,
If I want to, but it's, I would rather not. I would rather be just like everyone helps everyone, and there's, we're all rising together. So I love that you said
Mhm.
that. So I want to just briefly talk about the craziness that 2020 has been. And, as musicians, you said that, one of the ways that you've been able to cope with all the changes is being with your family, and receiving their support, which is great. Has there been any other changes that you've had to make as far as your music career, with live shows being cut down and things like that? What would, how have you managed?
Yeah, I mean, it's been very difficult, as it has been for everyone, especially in the music industry and the entertainment industry. My career before the pandemic was entirely based on live performance. I work at a music venue, and then afterwards I go and play shows. So
That's
yeah. So I had to shift. I mean, I had to do like a 180 and shift entirely from live performance to like online content creation. And it has been a challenge, just because historically that's not one of my strong suits. Like, my social media has always just been a place for me to document my shows and my experiences, and like the
now I
things
gotta
I'm
take selfies
doing.
and document what I baked today, since there's nothing better to do.
Yeah, a lot of hashtag TBTs, because like
Oh yeah, that
nothing.
too.
But it's been a challenge, but it's also been fun, because it's like challenged me to be creative, and like more creative in different ways above just writing songs and just performing them. And so obviously I would rather be out playing shows, but I've been able to make new things and more content, and like I even started learning a little bit about music production, so I could
Oh, cool.
make more compelling demos and things like that. And like, it's a challenge, but it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, that's great. That's great. Diving into the social media skills,
Mhm.
that's definitely gonna help for the future, right? And production, of course.
Yeah.
That's something that I would really love to learn how to do. That's wonderful skill. So that's exciting. And um so what do you think that um would be like a major shift that would help us in the DMV music scene to to move forward, especially right now, like with live shows being down, what? And well, I mean, some are starting to open up, but even in general, like, after things are open, what do you think that we could do to elevate ourselves more and to get us all back to work again?
Yeah.
I guess aside from the obvious,
But I mean,
open back up, but but we want to be
great
safe too.
question.
So,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's a great question. It's a very difficult question, because just honestly, it's hard to think about, because I'm just going to be happy when I can play a show again. And like, that will feel like a step forward, even though it's technically a step back to where we all were before. But I was thinking a little bit about this, and I sort of hope that when we all come back, that, and this isn't just specific to DC, I think this is specific everywhere, or it's pertaining to everywhere, but I'm hoping that artists and entertainers will be appreciated more, because I sort of feel like art and entertainment is very highly valued, but artists and entertainers are not. as valued. And I'm hoping just that like maybe this our long absence will impress upon the local scene, and less places being like, we'll have you do this for exposure, and more like, we value like what you offer, we value the entertainment, the art that you bring, so here we're gonna make that clear.
I like that.
It's like a small thing that happens everywhere, but I really don't know anything bigger for DC as a whole. Maybe something like massive. Like I think it'd be cool if we could eventually have something like a South by Southwest type of thing. Maybe not to that scale, but like some type of music festival that goes on, like with like showcasing some of the local bars and local restaurants, and like having local bands play and like showcasing go-go music, but also maybe bringing some bands from other places to like have a bigger draw, because like our music scene is so great and people don't know about it.
We do have so many festivals here, but I feel like they don't get enough enough publicity.
Attention.
Yeah, enough attention. And I wonder if there's a way to bring that back, even before we can have crowds, like having things, I know that some places are doing their things live streaming, and I wonder if we could do that, right? On a very large scale. I like that. So like have something even bigger. So
yeah, I know they did Landmark Music Festival like once. It happened one year, like years ago, and it was this massive festival like on the that place that I can't think of what it's called, like with all the monuments and stuff. It has a name.
The National Mall.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh geez, I've been out of DC for too long.
You need to come back.
But
that's funny.
Yeah, there was like a big festival there, and it brought a ton of people from outside of DC, but they only did it that one year because I think it was kind of difficult to maintain and to like clean up. I heard that it like destroyed the land.
Yeah, so maybe yeah, I love that idea though, to have a big festival on the National Mall and like right where everyone would be touristy in DC, but find a way to like keep it respectful towards history. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I hope that people listening, if you're a festival organizer, make it happen. I'm certainly not one, but I think it's a great idea. Maybe in 2022, right? Like when we can finally gather like in large numbers, that would be awesome. So I want to ask you, dive in a little bit into mental health, because I know that you talked about this a bit with your cause and your message and your music, but like I specifically am a big like advocate for mental health awareness and just, making sure that you're kind to yourself, that you're getting treatment if it's helpful for you, and whatever treatment is helpful for you. And, and also finding like, especially right now, I think I love how people are waking up to the it's okay to not be okay sort of thing. And that mental illness happens to perfectly normal people. So I want to know, like right now with all of the changes and waiting for doing your favorite things again, performing live shows, how have you been taking care of your mental health this year?
Yeah. How have I been taking care of my mental health? Not without some difficulty, to be honest.
I really feel you.
I mean, music has been, a big part of it. Like I've been writing a lot more, which was surprising. I sort of thought that I wouldn't be writing a lot of songs, but I have been, and it's like a huge release. It's very
good for you. It was very hard for me to write music, like when you're struggling, when you're like feeling traumatized, it's hard. So like I hope that people listening don't be like, well, you're home alone, like might as well write tons of songs. It's like, it's not that easy.
Oh yeah.
when you're
Oh,
going
yeah.
through a rough year, right? So it's like good for you though for doing that.
No, yeah. I would want to remind people that like now, like this doesn't have to be the time to like write some like incredible, like life-changing novel or like 8 albums or like I think you don't have to put too much pressure on yourself. I feel like the best thing that you can do is just like go day to day, you know? And I actually, this is going to sound terrible, but I wrote a song about that.
Hey, perfect. Well, that's the thing. Like if you give yourself time and space to write, you know, and you know, all that kindness and that you were talking about, then yeah, let the songs flow. But
yeah,
I love that you said that. So you actually wrote a song about not pressuring yourself too much to write a song.
yeah, I'm hoping to share it. Well, I haven't really fully shared it yet because I really want to submit it for the NPR Tiny Desk contest for this year. And I'm waiting for them to announce it because I want to share that song. And it's actually,
exciting.
it's really hopeful. Like it's kind of about like the pandemic related depression and like not being able to motivate yourself, like to the point of where sometimes you like can't even get out of bed. And then, like the whole message though is like like be grateful for the small steps and like take pride in the small steps. Like even if you can just make it out of your bed, like be happy that you did that, you know, be happy that you like took a shower or made breakfast or like little things.
I can't wait to hear the song. As someone who's had depression this year, it's I'm really excited about that. Thank you for sharing that. So your music has been a therapy for you, is what you're saying.
I definitely need it. I don't know. I shudder to think where I would be without it. So it's been a big help.
That's awesome. Thank you. And I think that's all of the questions, but I just want to like give another shout out to your song Tomb. Just one Tomb, right? Or was it Tombs?
Yep, just Tomb.
That we'll be playing at the end of the show, and everyone check you out. Hey, everyone find Brassie at the following socials. Go.
So all my handles are at Rachel Brassfield, and that's Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, which I highly recommend checking out the TikTok. I put some funny stuff on there.
Yay.
Well, no, it's mostly just sad, but
sad funny possibly.
Yeah, sad funny. And check me out on YouTube. It's just youtube.com/Brassie music.
Fantastic. Well, really excited. Thank you everyone for listening to the CGC Presents DC Music Rocks, elevating the sound of the DMV to the world stage, one conversation at a time. This is Stephanie Mathias, and we have Rachel Brassfield here with us, and everyone have a wonderful week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Today is looking pretty great. Got no proof, I got no pain. I'm laying on the floor with my ear to the door, wishing you were here, wishing there was more. I think about you, the time that we lose. Think about the end, I think about my tomb. Been playing with the beast instead of buying a lie. Bring me to the beast, I still need more. And I'll be Sunday until I get my way. Lay you lick me like honey, if you can talk my name. I've been playing with the beast instead of playing alive. Bring me to the feast, I still need more. And it won't be sunny, and I won't be safe, but you can lick me like honey, if if you can tell my grave. Today is looking pretty great. You're no book, I got no pay. I lay on the floor with my ear to the door, wishing you were here, wishing there was more. Shh.
'Cause I'ma dig deep, I'ma stand tall. I got the grit of the underdog.